Before we jump into a walk around, I want to give you a quick story about this airplane because the Beech 18 isn't just a twin, it's a legend. Beechcraft introduced the Model 18 back in 1937, and it immediately became one of the most versatile airplanes ever built. Over the next 3 decades, almost 9,000 of these rolled out of Wichita, making it one of the most widely produced twin-engine airplanes in history. And they built them for everyone: military, airlines, bush pilots, freight haulers. If there was a job to do, the Beech 18 found a way to do it. During World War II, the Beech 18 became the workhorse trainer for the United States military. They used it to train thousands of bombardiers, navigators, and multi-engine pilots. Its military versions, the C-45, AT-7, and AT-11, were found at practically every training base in the country. After the war, these airplanes transitioned into civilian life. They hauled passengers, hauled freight, hauled fish in Alaska, you name it. If you needed reliability, range, and rugged radial power, you flew a Beech 18. This design is classic 1930s engineering: twin radial engines, a tailwheel, and a structure built like a battleship. And yet it flew all the way into the 1970s in commercial service and well beyond that in private and specialty operations. There are very few aircraft where their lifespan is measured not in years, but in generations. Every Beech 18 has stories in the rivets. Some flew executives, some trained pilots who went on to fly B-17s and B-29s. Some spent their lives hopping freight between small towns before GPS or glass panels ever existed. And even today, almost 90 years after the first one flew, you can still walk up to one, fire up those magnificent Pratt & Whitney radials, and feel exactly what pilots felt in the 1940s. So today, we're not just doing a walk around, we're stepping into aviation history, into an airplane that shapes aviation as we all know it. And I'll show you why people still love, respect, and fly the Beech 18 to this day. All right, I am in the hangar with one of the coolest airplanes ever built. It's a Beechcraft Model 18. This particular one behind me is a 1960 model G18S. This aircraft was owned by the Grimes Manufacturing. This is one of their 3 corporate aircraft. Not a whole lot of time on the airframe. There's just over 5,000 hours total time airframe. It's a beautiful aircraft in beautiful condition. We're going to cover everything that I look at before I fly the airplane, and plus we're going to go inside, check out the cabin and cockpit. So if you're in love with radial engines, twin engine airplanes, piston power, 450 horsepower per side, Pratt & Whitney's R985s, this video is for you. So come on along and let's go check her out. All right, so we're going to go get started with the left engine. This is an R985-14B engine, 450 whopping horsepower on this left side. It's a wonderful engine, 9 cylinders. Radial engines, they just love to circulate oil. So one thing that we check out is see if there's any abnormal oil leakage. Take a look inside. I look at the cowling to make sure that there's no oil puddling up around anything. Everything looks good. I also look at the cylinder base nuts to make sure that they are not broken off, and everything looks good as well. Overall condition, no abnormal oil leaks, drips. Birds didn't decide to crawl inside the engine and make a nest. Overall condition looks good. The spinner, you want to check the spinner out. I grab a hold of the spinner and just wiggle it a little bit. That way we're checking to make sure that the spinner bulkhead is not cracked in any way. Overall condition of the propeller, I'll run my fingers along the leading edges of the propeller to check for any dings or nicks in the prop, because what can happen is if you get a ding or a chip in your propeller, that could create a stress riser, and as that propeller rotates, it could essentially crack the propeller off, and we don't want to obviously have that happen. But overall condition looks good. There is a 7-gallon oil tank. I like to fly primarily with the oil mainly full. I'll fly, you know, if it has 6 quarts, I wish. If it has 6 gallons registering on the dipstick, if I'm doing a local flight, that's fine too. But if I'm doing any type of long trips in this aircraft, I do like to top the oil off. So let's climb up there and we'll go check things out. Okay, so I'm showing 5 gallons. Now the one thing with this engine, as it sits here overnight, the oil, any oil that's residual in the engines will drain down into the oil cans that I have. So I'll take that out and I'll show you. I have an oil Hangar clean kit on this airplane. So what happens is I have a hose hooked up here, which when the engine's sitting here, any residual oil will drain out of the engine into this can. So the first thing I do is I take this and I put it back in the engine and essentially recycle the oil that drains out of it. There's a good bit in here as well. Let me get a rag. All right, so I just climb right up on top of the wing. Try not to fall. And I'll take the dipstick out, and right now I'll take my oil, drop the dipstick, that's not good. This oil tank's 7 gallons, so it holds 7 gallons of oil. If I'm going like out to Oshkosh, flew out to Oshkosh, from here it's about a 4-hour flight, and I'll fill that oil tank up all the way to the top to 7 gallons. If I'm doing a local flight around here just for fun, if it gets down to 5.5, it doesn't bother me. But I certainly, most of the time, I like to keep it at least 6 gallons of oil. Temperatures are a little cooler tonight, so it takes a little while to drain this oil out. Okay. This is just part of the process. You get used to it. This is definitely not an airplane that you just show up the hangar and pull the airplane out of the hangar. You gotta get it ready. All right, a couple other things to look at on this left side. Right here, we have, you can see a big opening. I always like to look in there to make sure no rodents, squirrels, birds decided to make this a nest. This opening right here, that's where your airflow goes to go into the oil cooler to help cool the engine oil. And if you look inside there, there's a flapper. And that's what you'll see once we get in the cockpit. That oil shutter's handle controls that door that's in here that closes or opens depending on what you want to let more or less air into the oil cooler. On modern oil coolers, that vernotherm opens and closes automatically. In this aircraft, the vernotherm is really the pilot. So the pilot controls the temperature of the oil. The other thing too, with the short exhaust stacks, my understanding is these things have a tendency to crack. So I always like to grab a hold of them and wiggle them a little bit, make sure that they're sound and secure on both sides. Here you can see this little cart I have rigged up here for the oil. It's like an oil catch. It also, any type of oil that drips out of the engine, out of the exhaust, will hit the drip pan and then run into a bucket. I don't recycle that oil, but I certainly do recycle the oil that comes out of the bottom of the engine. It goes into the container down at the bottom because that is a closed system and that oil is kept clean. Once you get done with the engine oil, then the cell on the front, the cowling, make sure all the cowling latches are secured nicely. I take a look at the landing gear. I look at the extension of the oleo strut, okay? And in this aircraft, it's about 1.5 fists. Once they're balanced on both sides. If that looks good, the overall condition, the scissor is nice and tight. The condition of the tire, these tires are huge on this airplane. These tires are in very good condition. I'm looking for any type of tire wear. You know, if the tire is down to the cord, if there's plenty of tread left, these tires are in good shape. Same thing with the brakes. On top of the brakes, these brakes are actually an upgrade for the Beechcraft. This is what's called the Cleveland wheels and brake conversion. So it has a much more powerful brake. So when you hit the brake pedals, it really has a lot of stopping power. And also the brakes do not have a tendency to fade. So you really utilize differential power and brakes to maneuver the airplane a lot on takeoff, landing, as well as ground control. And it's certainly nice to have brakes when you want it. And the Cleveland wheels and brakes conversion was done on the airplane when I purchased the aircraft. And from what other people tell me, it makes a world of difference. I don't have a whole lot of experience with the old Goodyear brakes, but from what other people tell me is that they do have a tendency to fade, especially really when you need it the most. So pretty happy to have those. Again, overall condition looks good there. Up under the wheel well, I look at a few things. I actually just have a herniated disc, so it's difficult for me to get under there right now. But typically what I do is I go up under there. There's a slider with a mechanism on there that I want to make sure that that stays lubricated. There's also a chain, so I make sure that's lubricated as well too. And every few flights I go in and make sure everything's clean, and then I relubricate it. Gear doors are secure. One thing pretty special about this aircraft is that it has boots on the leading edges. Not that I'm going to go charging out into icing conditions, but it's certainly nice to have this tool in your toolbox if you need it. And the other thing, these boots are in very good condition. The landing light, again, overall condition's good. No tears, no rips, no major patches in the leading edges. Nav lights, lens is in good condition. The strobe light's in good condition. Going around to the back side of the airplane, the ailerons originally, as well as the elevators and the rudders on this airplane, a lot of people have converted them over and metallizing them. These are actually fabric covered ailerons. So fabric is in good condition. The paint, the finish on top is in excellent condition. You're looking at the piano hinges and make sure everything looks good. One thing I do every so often on the piano hinge is I'll spray some LPS lubricant in there to help keep things nice and free. Move the ailerons up and down, everything is looking good. One big flap, okay, well there's two big flaps really. The flaps are huge on this aircraft. Again, overall condition, there's a track that I lube every so often, and I'll lower the flaps, I'll make sure everything's clean, and I can spray some lubricant in that track as well. Now, one cool thing about this airplane, this is a factory option. Anybody know what that is? Put it in the comments if you know what that is, and if not, I'll tell you later on in this video. The left side of the fuselage, again, overall condition. You're looking for, I also check and make sure that there's no corrosion that pops up and everything looks good. So the door of the aircraft, this is how you get in and out of the airplane. You have one latch here, you pull down, and you want to help the door down. You don't want to let it just fall. If you let go, it will fall all the way down. So you help the door down. And that's how you get in the airplane. We'll climb inside in a minute, but we're going to continue the walk around. Getting back to the tail of the aircraft, again, just like on the wings, there's boots on the horizontal stab. Again, other than some dead bugs because I was just flying not too long ago, I got to clean this airplane. There's boots on the horizontal, and there's also boots on the vertical. The way that the boots work is that the ice will build up on the leading edges first, and you want to let it build up to a point where when you turn on the boots, when you inflate the boots will expand, okay? And when they expand, it will break the ice and the ice will come flying off the airplane. So that's how that works. So down here with the tail wheel, up underneath, okay, you climb in, there's a sliding tube in there. So when that tail wheel retracts, there's another gear carrier that slides along a tube. I try to keep that tube lubricated every so often, keep it clean, look at the overall condition. Same thing with these gear doors. They are a little spring-loaded, so I just move them and make sure that they are spring-loaded. Tail wheel, just like the mains, you want to look for any signs of tire wear, uneven tire wear. Look for the cord of the tire showing through is an indication that it's time to change the tire. But this looks pretty good and pretty good condition as well. Gives you a chance too to look underneath the horizontal and underneath the elevator. Overall condition, again, the elevators and the rudders on this aircraft are fabric covered. So check the condition of the fabric, no tears. And overall condition, everything looks good. So take a look at the rudder, overall condition of the horizontals and the elevator. Back on the back side of the elevator, you have trim tabs, left trim tab and a right trim tab. And the right side is pretty much the same as the left side. This is actually a vent right here. That's for your lav. We'll talk about that and show you that in a minute. This has a factory option, is my understanding. That's a, you can put a rocket in there for a rocket assist takeoff, which had to be a heck of a ride. I'd be interested to know if anybody out there has experienced what it was like to take off in a Beech 18 with rocket assist, JATO assist, whatever the proper term is. All the mechanisms in there, if I could find a rocket, that would be pretty cool. Feels like about the same amount of oil in this can. You do this enough, you get a feel for how much oil is actually in the can based on weight. Now this particular aircraft has modifications on it, or an STC, to raise the gross weight. So this has what's called the 10-1 kit. So the gross weight is 10,100 pounds for this particular aircraft. So as far as the anti-ice, I have the boots on the wings, the propellers, and the windshield. There's an alcohol tank in the left wing, which holds 6 gallons of alcohol. And there's a control in the cockpit which will turn the pump on for the props, but also there's a rheostat in there which controls, and I'll show you that in a minute, that controls the level of flow through the pump to the propellers. And then there's an on-off switch for the windshield, so the alcohol will spray on the windshield. And not that I recommend it, but like I said before, it's nice to have that tool in your aviator toolbox if you need it to get out of Dodge, to get out of a layer that's got some ice in it. Living up here in the Northeast, flying this time of year, November, December, any flights down to Florida, you know, you might run into situations where you could certainly use that. Okay, now before we get inside, a couple other things I want to show and point out with this aircraft. All right, moving over on the right side of the wing, there's a couple other things to look at. Again, just like on the left engine, the right engine has the inlet for the oil cooler. Air flows in and cools the oil on the right side. This is a cabin air inlet. There's a little iris in there that opens and closes to allow the air to flow into the cockpit for your pilot and co-pilot fresh air. So again, just checking that out and make sure that there's no issues with that. Now on this right side, this is an inlet for your heater. Now there's also a heating element behind the inlet here to prevent any ice from building up on this element. So that's the right side. Again, the tire, the wheel, that looks good as well. And then of course up in the gear well, you want to look for any loose connections, broken connections, anything out of the ordinary. Cool feature, this airplane does not have a fuel tank in the nose. The nose is 100% storage, and you can really load it up with a lot of weight, which helps with center of gravity, weight and balance, especially on a long trip where you have a lot of bags that you want to pack. You can pack a lot in the nose. So I'm going to grab the Zeus tool. I'm going to open the nose compartment and show you how to get in there. The only downside with the nose compartment is that you have to carry a ladder with you, and this is a ladder I bring with me on long flights so I can get up into the nose. So to get into this nose compartment, there is a latch on both sides. It's a quick snap with your Zeus tool, left and right. And then one up top. All right, so then once you get the latches off, then you just open the door. And then this is all storage. Okay, so you can fit a lot of camping gear in there. JJ and Alyssa went out to Oshkosh. We flew out to Oshkosh. All of our camping gear, sleeping bags, pillows, we put up front. All the heavy stuff and the lighter stuff we put in the back. The other nice thing is that if you look in there, that padding on the back, okay, you can take that off, and that gives you access to the back side of the instrument panel, which is wonderful if you need to work on your avionics or have an avionics upgrade. You can take the top of this off and just sit up in the nose and work away. No more climbing under the instrument panel, laying on your back, reaching up there, hard to see. You just sit there and you got full access, which is really nice. All right, a couple other unique things on this airplane, underneath anyway, along with the antennas. Again, you wanna look for your antennas, make sure the antennas are attached nicely. Your fuel drains are under there. That's where you would take your fuel sample. You got something here, which is a little different. You don't see those on a lot of other airplanes. Anybody know what that is? Let's take a walk up inside. All right, so first thing you notice, we got a cable right there. We'll remove that. We've got the cheap seats in the back. We've got a really nice luggage rack, okay? You can put ample bags on the top or the bottom. I carry a little flyaway kit here that includes oil, that includes a spare tail wheel, some tools, gust lock, you name it. But I usually keep that on the bottom with some tools, and then on the top I will put some bags and luggage. This here, this is your back lav. All right, there's a door right there, which I'll show you once we climb inside. I have it propped open right now. But this is actually a little bathroom area. All right, so that folds up, and there's your bucket, toilet paper, all of the necessities. When you need it, you need it. So certainly nice to have, but try not to use it. Welcome on board the Beech 18. This is the cabin area. It is beautifully appointed. There's tables, chairs. The chairs actually recline that you can sit in. The upholstery has been redone. Everything is beautiful. There's vents over each seat. There's a map light with controls right over each seat for each passenger. So right now I have it configured with what we call the executive interior, meaning that there's 7 total seats. The pilot, co-pilot, and then 5 passenger seats. There is also another jump seat that would sit in front of the door. I don't have that installed just because with that there, it's hard to get in and out of the airplane. We can take the door off, we can put that jump seat in, and things would function perfectly nice. But these tables fold out. So I've got a table there. There's another table over here. You can fold those out and sit and play a game of cards while you're traveling. This is truly, back in the day, this is flying in luxury. Let's go up and have a look in the cockpit. All right, so this is the best seat in the house. This is the pilot seat of the Beech 18. You're looking out over the nose and looking out over the wings, you know you're really flying something special. And every time I get in this airplane, I just have to pinch myself because I can't believe it. It really is a dream come true, and I'm just thrilled actually to share it with you and show you all aspects of it. This has Aviation and Aspen equipment right now. And it's also has an S-Tech 55X autopilot, which is a fully coupled autopilot. It will fly the approach, fly the mist, approach procedure, etc. And it does a really nice job. I have the ability to turn white lights on the instrument panel, or also red lights on the instrument panel. All right, so there's the panel. The panel lights are really nice. A couple different options. Obviously the red lights work best at night. But checklist up here. I have my iPad right over here. I typically run either Garmin Pilot or ForeFlight, and I'm able to pull my charts up. So everything's right in front of me. All right, looking down into the center console, right here you have your oil shutoffs. You turn those off after the engine shuts down, your fuel tanks left and right, your flap switch, your gear switch, your mixture, your throttle, your props, your manifold heat, your oil shutters, your control for cabin air is also down here, your de-ice boots. We talked about the boots out on the wing. To turn those on, you just pull that valve up, and that inflates the boots out there. Here's your oil cooler bypass in the cold. If you really needed to warm the engines up, and your oil was needed bypass, you can turn your oil cooler bypass on right there. And your oil shutters are right here. So by pushing this handle down, okay, on the right side, that closes the oil shutter, and that opens it up. So this left one here is a little stiff. So I gotta lube that up a little bit. It's probably just a cable. And then of course your mixture controls here. So full Co-Pilot 6-pack on the right side, all the original engine instruments at the top, manifold pressure, RPM, and on the left side I have an Aspen, as well as the steam gauges as it would have originally. All the switches here on the left side down below, that controls all the airframe, nav lights, rotating beacon, autopilot control, landing lights, taxi lights right over here. And then on the right side, magneto, your prop, anti-ice controller. This here is a pretty cool switch. You see what that says? Seatbelts, seatbelt sign. Passengers, please fasten the seatbelts. And you can see in the back where the seatbelt sign illuminates. And then there's also right here, passengers, please fasten your seatbelts. It's pretty cool. Now to start the airplane, you have to select what engine you want the start button to operate. So either left or right, you move the toggle switch over to the left and right, and that will trigger which starter you're using. Then there's a cover here you flip up. You have starter, primer, ignition, boost. So you start with the starter, let the prop turn a couple times. You hit and you hold that down, then you hit the primer and you hold that down. You hit the ignition booster all at the same time. And then you reach over to the right-hand side here where your magnetos are, your magneto switch, and you turn your mags on. So for the left engine, you flip those up, or the right engine, you flip those up. So starting this airplane is really a two-handed operation. So you got your left hand over here, you're operating the starter, the booster, the primer, the booster. Your right hand goes over and hits the mag switch up, both left and right mags. And then your right hand goes back over to the throttle, and then I end up pulling the throttle back just a little bit because you try to not start the airplane and let it backfire. So you just let it warm up easily. And then once that gets done, then you go ahead and put your starter selector in the right engine or the left engine, depending on which one you start first. Go through that whole process again. Starter button, primer button, ignition boost, magnetos left and right up on that engine. Hand goes back to your throttle and engine starts. It's a process and it's awesome. You don't just hit a button and start it. When you start the airplane, you feel like you did something successful. So cockpit, best seat in the house right here. Second best seat is a co-pilot seat right here next to me. So we're gonna shut it down before I kill the battery. So lights go off. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick walk around a 1960 Beechcraft Model 18. This is a G18S. There's the overall inspection, the pre-flight inspection is really a lot more in depth, but this gives you a quick overall of what we got going on in the airplane. Thanks for tuning in and watching. And if you didn't know what that thing was down on the bottom of the aircraft, it's connected to this. This is not a microphone. This, my friends, is what we call a PRT. If you don't know what a PRT is, I challenge you, go over to Google, say, what is a PRT in an airplane, and you'll know what this is. So And I can tell you, it works well. And the one in the back works even better. I'm glad you guys stopped, watched this video. It's a neat airplane. I'd love to share it with you. If you're ever around New Garden Airport, I'd love to give you a personal tour of the airplane. We'll see you soon. Until next time.